first item on our agenda is a continued hearing for 3 Majority Road. Is the applicant here? Please come up and give us an update from the last hearing, please.
Good evening. Once again, my name is Joe Calandrelli. I'm here to represent Kara and Eric Imlach, the owners of 3 Marjorie Road. Since the last hearing, per the board's request, we did go out and ask the surveyor, Ed Farrell, to provide a revised as-built which showed the particular measurements from the location of the side yard to the shed. I did upload a copy of that yesterday. I also have additional copies here if the board would like.
Yeah, can you pass it around, please?
And according to the revised as-built, as I think one of the members noted, one of the corners of the shed is looks like about half a foot away from the property line. Various measurements, 9.8, 11.5, and the furthest being 18.3.
Okay, thank you. We'll go around the board. I think that's what we're looking for, but Jeremy, any questions, comments?
No questions.
Jeff?
No, nothing.
Charles?
No questions.
Mark?
No questions.
John?
No, but I don't even know if I can be on this one anyway.
Well, you can comment. You
No, I
can't.
suppose I could comment, yeah, but no.
Okay. All right, I don't have any comments. That's the information we were looking for from the last hearing. The public hearing is still open. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor or against this proposal? All right, seeing none, take a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Staying, I guess, right? 5-0. Okay. Any comments or motions from the board?
I don't have any comments. I'm just trying to think of how I would. We just do a half-inch, half-foot variance, you know. Do I need to put all the numbers in there, you think?
No, I think if you do 0.6 feet
0.6.
as shown on the plan.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So I'll make a motion to approve 3 Marjorie Road for a rear setback variance of 0.6 feet, as shown on plot plan dated November 24th, 2021.
Second.
It's actually a side setback. I don't know if that,
Oh, it is. Oh,
sorry, yeah, it's.
I
if you look at
appreciate that. Yep. Looks like it's back. So make a motion to approve a side setback for 0.6 feet, as shown on plans dated November 24th, 2021.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. All set.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is continued but new hearing for 41A Harriet Ave. Mark, can you reread that into the record for us, please?
Yes, sir. The petition of Jose Vieira for property located 41A Harriet Ave, Burlington, Mass. 01803, shown on Burlington Assessor's Map and parcel reference 46-24-0. The applicant is seeking a variance to add a second floor addition to the existing house and construct an addition with a garage, bedroom, and sitting room. Violation of section 5.2.0 Burlington zoning bylaw requires a minimum of 15-foot setback. Setbacks on 3 sides of the property do not meet the 15-foot setbacks for side and rear yards. Side 1, Harriet Avenue is 4.21 feet. Side 2, opposite Harriet Avenue side, is 8.8 feet, and the rear setback is 3.1 feet.
All right, thank you. Could you please introduce yourself and give us an update since the last meeting?
Sure. David Kinsella, architect, representing the Vieiras. After the last hearing, we discussed the setbacks that were non-conforming, and we were asked to go back to the land surveyor and put on the 4.2 setback. I had stated at that time it was 6 feet. It was an erroneous statement. It is actually 4.2. I believe you have a copy we uploaded in all of your packets.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
So that's actually a porch that is sticking out forward of the covered walkway we discussed last time. And that porch is to, give them a front entrance porch, and that's the sole purpose of it. It's not heated, it's not enclosed, but it is covered.
All right, thank you. John, any questions, comments? Mark?
No questions.
Charles?
No questions.
Jeff?
No questions?
Jeremy?
No questions.
No, again, I'm all set. This is just the updated information that we asked for from the last hearing. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor or against this proposal? Seeing none, take a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Any additional comments or motions from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve 41A Harriet Ave for a side 1 setback, 4.21 feet, and a side 2 setback opposite of Harriet Ave, 8.8 feet, and a rear setback of 3.1 feet, as shown on plans dated August 30th, 2021.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. All right, you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is a new hearing for Milton's signage as advertised. Just as a note, the advertisement had the size of the sign correct, but the letter of the sign, the size of the letters was incorrect, but it's actually smaller than what was advertised, just as a note. You please give us introduce yourself and give us an overview of your application.
Hi, Pam Dugello. I'm representing Gen Sign in Milton's. We are looking to install a 4-foot set of the lettered Milton's with a 30-inch the store for men. Overall size is 50 foot, 11 inches wide, in a 6-foot by 72-foot sign band area that's designated for this tenant. We believe it meets all other criteria, that we're here just because of the 4-foot, all the signs on the building need to be reviewed by the ZBA.
Okay, thank you. Jeremy, any questions?
No questions.
Jeff?
I just wanted to find out, how many, do you have a figure on how many lumens the sign is going to be? I know it's backlit.
I do not. It's typical LED lighting, red letters.
Okay,
I can get that calculation for you.
not a big deal. No, what's up?
Charles?
Where is this located again?
On the north elevation, at the Burlington Mall,
Yeah, I know the
next
location.
to Primark.
Okay, there we go.
On that side.
Primark, so it's on the Primark side, like next to Shake Shack?
Yeah, you should have a drawing for that.
Okay. I don't have any questions at the moment.
All right, Mark?
No questions.
John?
No questions. I think it's an appropriate size sign for the store, but just so long as you know that they'll put a caveat on it that it has to be less than 90 lumens
Okay.
if they approve it.
All right, yeah, I don't have anything. I think it fits the space. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor or against this proposal? Seeing none, take a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to close the public hearing. Sorry, Jeff, you're voting on this one, all right.
On Milton's?
Yeah, there's only.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Joe's out.
Sorry, motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. That's for the public hearing. And would anyone like to make a motion on the signage?
I'll make a motion for Milton's, 75 Middlesex Turnpike, as shown on plans submitted and dated October 19th, 2021.
Not to exceed 90 lumens.
Revised date. Oh, that's, yeah, okay. Okay, yep.
With the condition of not to exceed the lumens, 90 lumens per square foot.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. All set.
Thank you.
The conditions are already on.
It's already on there.
The next item on our agenda is a new hearing for 1 Raymond Road. Mark, can you read that into the record for us, please?
Yes, sir. The petition of Ray Wu for property located at 1 Raymond Road, Burlington, Mass. 1803, as shown on Burlington Assessor's Records Map and parcel reference 29-65-0. The applicant is seeking a variance to construct a shed to be 34 feet by 8 feet. The shed is in violation of Article 5, Section 5.1.3.3, limitation of area, accessory uses, and Section 5.2.0, density regulation schedule.
Thank you.
Okay,
Please introduce yourself and give us an overview of your application.
all right, my name is Ray Wu. We are seeking a variance to construct a shed that is 34 feet by 8 feet in our backyard. Because since in the plot plan, we have a limited area to build any of the shed, even without violating any of the rule. Because since the land is small, and we need another shed for all other the land equipment, the lawn equipment, and also the snow removal equipment. So also we found this is very common that there's a lot of places also build the shed is like less than 15 feet from the borderline, and some of the even put in a garage on. So we're just seeking a variance for this is special permit for us to build the shed. So if you need, I could show you some pictures and see it all around the neighborhood. So people are doing it all the time. Like,
All right, thank you.
yep.
John, so you any questions?
No questions, but maybe a question too, but I have a comment to make. The reason why you see some other people get things that maybe you can or cannot have, because this board doesn't set precedent. What's good for one house right here isn't necessarily good for the next one. So if this board votes for something for somebody, and then you say, oh, gee, I want to do that too, maybe the circumstances related to the soil or the way the property's laid out, whatever,
Yeah, I understand.
wants it to be the other way. So we don't set precedent, so that doesn't come into as far as the questions go. Second thing is, that's a pretty big shed. You're talking about 34 feet by 8 feet is a big, massive shed. That's just for storage stuff?
Mostly because the area we have not, there's nothing used, and I have a smaller shed in there, but I noticed that is not big enough for me to put all my equipment. And
So there's already an existing shed on the property
a
there, too?
small one, is portable one, is over that corner.
See, the thing is the zoning laws are for density issues, mostly, right? And that's a tight squeeze. I mean, that's a big house on a small lot, and then you're gonna put that shed in on the side, it's gonna eat up the entire left side of your house. I think it's big. I'm not saying I'm gonna vote for it or against it yet. I'll listen to the rest of the board, but that's a big shed.
So would it be like downsize the shed, will be better?
Well, we'll have to see what the rest of the board thinks, but it would be better for me.
Okay.
I would have an easier time
I-
voting for
I
a smaller
understand.
shed. That's a massive shed.
All right, Mark?
So just to follow up on John's comments, I'm looking at the property, the plot plan that you provided, and is there any reason why it couldn't be in another place? Seems like you're
Yeah.
trying to tuck it in
Yeah, I could tell
the
you that.
spot in the corner.
The front, in the Raymond Road, in the front, there was, also it's at the corner, like in the bottom of this area, there'll never be anything
Right,
over
right.
here. Right, this is the corner of the
The lot?
road. You have to be like 25 feet behind
Oh.
the corner. You cannot have anything to block. There's one place, and also this corner, I can show you. This is a big slope. It's much higher than our house. There's a very deep
So
slope.
you're saying that's the only flat area?
Yeah,
you can
pretty
put
much.
it?
Like in the back here, there's a big step, a few steps between here. There's the only flat place I could pretty much to build a shed.
So what are you storing in that shed?
For I do some snow plowing and some doing the landscaping stuff. So
Right.
mostly for my working equipment.
Right.
And also I have 3 kids.
As a business or for your own profit?
Not as a business, but I trying to starting now, so it could be a business soon. That's why I need bigger place for my other stuff.
Right, I'm just gonna reserve to listen to
Yeah.
other members on any further questions. Thank you.
Charles?
Okay, so a couple of questions, I guess. I still don't understand why you couldn't put it on the other side of the house. Seems like it would fit somewhat better. For me, I think that the shed is a little overkill for the size of the lot for some type of residential lawn care or snow care. One of the items that we look for is if it's going to derogate from the intent of the bylaw. The intent of the bylaw in this case is to make sure there's not, houses aren't too dense and that the properties are far enough apart so we give everybody privacy that Burlington requires. So for me, I'd have a hard time voting for this at the size of the shed is now. And even if it's on that side, it's real close to the next neighbor. So I'll reserve any more comments I have until after the public hearing, I guess.
All right, Jeff?
I'm going to echo the same things that the other members said, that the size of the shed is larger than what you would expect. It's larger than your average garage. So I'm going to reserve my comments until after the public hearing as well.
All right, Jeremy?
Yep, I'm in agreement with what I've heard so far, and I'd also just like to understand how far away from the property line this is intended to be, and also exactly where the existing shed is. Is it in the same spot?
Yeah.
So do you know how far from the property line is this intended to be?
It's pretty much right against to the property line. Just maybe a foot or so behind where I measured.
Thank you.
All right, I have some of the same concerns as the other board members. I think it's very large, and hearing that it could potentially be used as a potential, use for a business going forward, I think that changes things. If this was a smaller shed for residential use, for normal residential use, I think it would be a different story. That being said, I think you could potentially fit a shed like this on the other side, Church Lane. You have a 25-foot setback on 2 roads, which you don't really need. The bylaw has contingencies to allow for a 15-foot setback. I think you'd still need a variance, but if you put it on the Church Lane side, it wouldn't really be, technically it'd be in violation of the bylaw, but it would be in line with the bylaw, and it wouldn't be right up against an abutter's property. So I'll let's just leave it at that for now. This is a public hearing. We'll open this up to the public. If there's anyone that'd like to speak, please come up to the microphone and introduce yourself.
Diane Leva, 17 Church Lane. My side yard is a long raised backyard. I'd first just like to say, this is uncomfortable for me to speak tonight. I don't want to be at odds with neighbors. I hate the situation. I did not report this structure, but I am opposed to it. As you know, there's some small lots in this area, well below 20,000 square feet. Since the new house is built on both sides of me, the front doors were turned, so they're no longer on Church Lane. My house is now surrounded by 4 backyards in extremely close proximity. 1 Raymond Road is an enormous house on a small lot with a side and back fence, making my house now invisible when driving down Church Lane. The house towers over the front 1-story section of my house. The house and fence block my view of the street and other surroundings, and the house is just too close to mine. Adding another structure of this height and size further blocks my views and is another intruding structure seen from both my deck and backyard that further boxes me in visually more than the house already does. And again, before building this structure, there was a shed in that back corner, a typical size for residential purposes that was much better suited for this space and was fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor or against this proposal? Please come up to the microphone and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dawn O'Brien from Church Lane. We received the letter, so thank you very much for including us. I'm very nice people, so it's not the people, it's just that it's right on a property line. It's uncomfortable to know that somebody can do that and it sort of infringe on somebody else's property when we have a bylaw for 15 feet, right, within the property line. I think we were here probably 2 years ago with another neighbor who wanted to put a 2-car garage, and they weren't allowed to because it was too close to the property line. So again, like you said, what's good for one isn't good for another, but it's uncomfortable for the neighbors when one didn't get it when somebody else may, and it is a huge shed, and the roof does cave like, it's inclined, like, the roof goes down a bit, right? So all the snow, whatever, it may actually go onto somebody else's property, which is an inconvenience for them as well, and the water that's gonna run off of it. It is huge. And I'm sorry, it's nothing to do with them, because I know they're stuck with a big house on a small lot, and I feel bad for them, but it's just too big for that area, and so close to somebody's property. Because of the resale value and all of that, for somebody else, it's gonna be difficult. So thank you for listening. And
Thank you,
for
thank you.
including us. I'm sorry.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak in favor or against this proposal? All right, let's keep the public hearing open for now. Let's see what we're gonna do. Any more thoughts from the board? Suggestions?
Yeah, I'm certainly not in favor of the current location of the shed, or the size, for that matter. Even if we were to, ask for them to have it shrunk down and moved, I think they'd almost have to re-advertise, the whole thing anyway.
You could give them leave to withdraw.
Yeah, we could do that.
It's probably the best thing.
That's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
We could do one or the other.
The way this was advertised is actually really open.
Yeah, it's a little bit,
It's almost too open.
makes me a little nervous either way, but.
So, yeah, we can consider that, maybe discuss thoughts on a direction before we give options on procedures. My thought on this is that if it were to be in that back corner, which I'm not saying I'm really in favor of, is that it would need to be a lot smaller and further away from the lot lines. My preference would still be to see it still be smaller, but be on the Church Lane side, as, you know, as in conformance with the bylaw as possible. You know, to see that as an alternative. Again, not saying that I would necessarily be for it without seeing it. I think it would be more in compliance. Those are my thoughts on trying to move forward with this without necessarily, you know, a straight up denial, to see alternatives. I don't know if anyone else on the board has thoughts along those lines or not.
Yeah, no, I agree with your comments, Mike. I think that, you know, the opposite side of the house is more appropriate, and it would have to be a traditional sized shed. I think all of the members have basically said that if it was a traditional shed, we'd be in even some of the comments from the public are saying, you know, that's what other residential residents would be seeking.
Yeah, like, thank you for your advice. And also, I would like to know what kind of size and is any line? I mean, what size is the biggest one we could do? Like in a portable one, or like more stable in the ground? And
I mean, I think you could have a built shed there, you know, I think, you know, a 10 by 10, 10 by 12 shed would be an appropriate residential
10 by 12?
size. Yeah, I think
in
that,
the
you know,
church lane side?
I think that would be preferable. I'm not saying.
I know.
I would need to kind
I
of
try
see
to
it on
be
the plan.
More closer to the regulation, like get more space to the property line. And is there any, the height limit? Because the one I was trying to do is like under 8 feet high.
I think trying to keep the height down as much as possible
Yeah,
is,
under 8, that definitely. I don't
Yeah.
need that height to store some of the equipment.
I think that would be beneficial to try to do that.
Yeah, we try to do one or close to the church lane, that corner will be like better. As much as away from the church lane.
Yeah, I think as far off the road as you can, again, to try to be more in line with what the setbacks should be. Typically on a corner lot, you'd be allowed to have one would be a 25-foot setback as your frontage, which is really Raymond Road, and the other one could be 15. You'd still need a variance because technically Church Lane is your smaller frontage, but the bylaw does allow for you to not have to have 2 front yard setbacks. So that it would be in line with the bylaw, even though you'd still require a variance. If you could, you know, fall within those setbacks. Sorry, we had another comment from the public. If you just come up to the microphone so the people at home can hear you as well.
I'm just trying to understand where on Church Lane this would go, because there's not much of a side yard on Church Lane, and my house is so close to their house, you have no idea. And depending on where on Church Lane that goes, I am already so boxed in. I don't know if any of you have driven down the street to see what it looks like. You probably drove down Raymond Road, but I'm talking Church Lane, the house that's next to theirs, on top of each other. So if we now put a shed there, I still think if it's of any height, it's still going to be more boxy visually. So I would like to see it only be the height of the fence, no higher than the fence. If possible. I'm in a I am in a very difficult position with how close this house was built to my house and the size of the house.
So, again, we would need to kind of get a new proposal
Right.
to see what he was talking about.
Okay.
The intention is that he would be within the setbacks for what would be his rear yard, so the yard that faces you. So that would be at least 15 feet, which that's the setback that's allowed by zoning. So his house now is 16.7 feet off the lot line, so really no further than that. And that's allowed by zoning.
Right, there's already a gazebo, though, up on the Church Lane side, so I don't even know if he has the room to do that. So I think that's where I'm,
Yeah, so that's,
Smaller than 10 by 12.
because there's already another structure there.
okay. So we would need to see the proposal for that before, but
That
that's,
should be on the plans, too.
Yeah.
If that gazebo has a roof on it, that should be on here.
right, okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm sorry. It's just.
All right, so procedurally on this, the way this is written, it's just that he's asking for density,
Nothing advertised for setbacks or anything, so,
right? So it's kind of wide open.
yeah.
So I don't know that he needs to withdraw if he wants to send us a revised proposal. That's my point. Any of the setbacks could be violated the way this was written.
The gazebo should be listed in
Yeah.
there, too.
Well, it should be shown to know whether it's within the setbacks or not.
Would that affect the density?
Potentially. If it's within the setbacks, it would.
Yeah, I can see from looking at an aerial, her house is really close to the line. It's an old non-conforming lot.
Yeah, I mean,
You can actually see it in the plan there. That's the corner of her house.
Right.
Again, these lots are all old.
Sorry, I just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, you can speak, it's just, I need to ask you to come to the microphone if you can speak. All right.
to me, honestly, if he can't come up with something that's conforming to the bylaws, I don't know that it makes sense to have one on this, this lot. But I think that there's definitely, at least from the plot plan, it looks like the space that he could put a 10 by 12 that would be at least very close to the
Right.
bylaws if he wanted to. So I just think there's other options than using a variance.
Right.
But I think that, yeah, I think you're right. If he wants, if the applicant wants to give us another proposal, I don't know that we need to withdraw this one and do another one with the way it looks right
No,
now.
it could always just be withdrawn after.
Yeah.
So, unless there's any other comments from the board, I think, and the other board members can correct me if I'm wrong, I would suggest that you take another look at potentially trying to locate this within setbacks. Maybe talk to the building department about, and I can follow up with them as well, about the setback on Church Lane, the frontage setback on Church Lane, and see what it was. If you are to come back with a separate proposal for this, that gazebo that's on there, we'd like to see that on the plot plan. That should have been here. So, I mean, in a smaller size shed, I think you've heard pretty unanimously from the board, residential in scale. So we'll leave it to you if you want to continue and take another look at giving us some different options based on the comments that you've heard. We can continue this to our next hearing and see what you come up with, and we can take a look at that and move forward one way or the other from there.
Do I still have to send all the letters on, put the news before I could have this hearing?
No, we wouldn't need to re-advertise it.
Okay.
We would just need you to
If I
submit.
have another plan and just bring it out next hearing on,
Yeah, if you could
Month?
submit it in advance, that would be helpful, but at the very least, bring it to the next hearing.
okay.
And then we can, we can take a look at that and discuss it from there.
All right,
All right,
okay, thank you.
thank you. So the public hearing is still open. I'll take a motion to continue the hearing to our next meeting of December 21st.
Make a motion to continue to the 21st.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. All right, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a new hearing for signage at 30 Corporate Drive for Enable. Hey, please introduce yourself and give us a overview of your proposal.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. My name is Charlie Shaliel, Site Enhancement Services. I'm representing Enable this evening. We are here tonight seeking a sign on the fourth story of a building on 30 Corporate Drive. If you're familiar with the site, we're not looking for any off-site visibility. We're just, excuse me, looking for the name recognition on the building. It's a new tenant. They recently fitted out the space on the fourth floor. It's beautiful. I was in there today. Hopefully you do business with them. It's really something to see. We're looking for a sign where a previously approved sign was located. That sign has obviously since been removed because it was for a previous tenant, and we're asking for a sign in that place. The sign that we're proposing is individual channel letters with perforated faces. There's a regulation with the property itself that all lettering illuminate white at night. Our sign is black and purple during the day and then illuminates white at night. There is no other accents. We have a sign similar in size, or what we're proposing is similar in size to another building that has a sign on it as well. I've got some additional information, just some other pictures. It pretty much mirrors what you already have, but I do show what the allowed would be, which is roughly about a 7.5 square foot sign, because of just the way the logo lays out. Looks ridiculous on the facade. We're just looking for something balanced on that facade on the fourth floor, because again, that's where our tenant space is occupied, and that's where the previously approved sign was. So that's why we're here.
All right, thank you. Jeremy, start with you. Any questions?
No questions.
Jeff?
Not at this time.
Charles?
No, I don't have any questions.
Mark?
No questions.
John?
I have a question. So your sign is 17 by 11. The previous sign that was in the same spot was 12 by 5 3/4.
It was what, I'm sorry?
It looks like 12 feet, 5 3/4 inches.
So the previous sign width was 11 feet 9 by 43.5. So I apologize, and that's why I have updated art, is because my artist, and it's my fault because I looked at it as well, gave the open space measurement. So it's actually a little bit different than what you have. It's actually a little smaller.
So just give me the dimensions of the
Yes,
old
sir.
sign, please?
Yeah, of the previous?
Yeah.
The 11 feet 9 inches wide by 43.5 inches tall. So roughly 42.59 square feet. Not roughly, 42.59.
All right, so it's a little bit bigger than the previous sign that was up there.
Yes, sir. And it all, again, comes out to the logo layout, the way that the brand represents, because our logo height, the previous one was 43.5, and we're asking for 43. So the logos are the same, it's just our spans a little differently because of the spacing on the lettering.
Yeah. Usually when there's something like this happens, I try to get a sign to be no greater than what was already there. I'd love to see it back to that size.
Proportionally, it lines up just because, again, the spacing, and if you remember the previous sign, ours is actually less wordage and less verbiage and less overall coverage. It's just the way that the logo lays out. I would love to keep it the where it is, but, I mean, if the board needs me to come down, I can somewhat entertain that.
There you go.
I said somewhat.
Thank you.
All right, I might have missed it in your presentation. Is this illuminated in any way?
Yes, sir. It's internally illuminated, face lit.
Okay.
That's it's the going culture for what's out there currently at the.
I just didn't see the detail in the
Yeah, I apologize.
That's all right. We typically put a limit on the lumens, 90 per square foot.
We'll meet the regulation.
I mean, the height of the letters is the same as it was before. It stretches out. I don't really have a problem with it, but we'll come back to that. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak in favor or against this proposal? All right, seeing none, I would close the public hearing, I think.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Jeremy, you're voting on this one. To close the public hearing, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. All right, thoughts from the board? Sounds like size is maybe a question.
Well, I'm always for minimizing if you can and will. The applicant said he would, so I don't see why it's an issue.
I actually have a question. The 43 inches, is that the N or the enable?
It's the N. The enable, or the, I'm sorry, the remaining is actually smaller.
What, do you know what the height is on that?
I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's around 38 inches, I believe. And again, smaller than what the inner gen was, height-wise. Their lettering was 39 inches, so yeah, I want to say we were right in there in the 37, 38. I apologize.
Do you have a size in mind that you could live with that's smaller than what's shown here? To give us an idea what we might be working with?
I'm getting a feeling that that may be where the board wants to go, and if that's the, I mean, I drew it up, and so I've got it drawn up. I kind of thought this may happen. I've got it drawn up at a 35 inches, the end at 35 inches, and the width at 14 feet 5 inches, which is roughly 42 square feet, 43-ish.
Do you have an image of that you could pass
Yeah.
around?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold it up to the top of it?
So as you can see, I mean, our span is still greater than the previous, but our, the overall height is a little less, but it gets us into the, and just so I'm not lying to you, because that's the last thing I want to do, I want to say that that gets us to the 42 square feet. Square feet. So the previous one was 42.59, this one's 42 square feet. So it falls within that same line.
This is acceptable to them.
It's acceptable to me.
Yeah.
Works for me.
They came here prepared with it, so it's not like busting chops or anything.
All right,
I feel beat up.
Oh, sure.
all right, so we'll have to modify that, that's fine. Okay, the public hearing is closed, so unless there's any other comments, take a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion to approve a wall sign for Enable to be 35 inches in height by 14 feet 5 inches in length, as shown on plan submitted with the application. This one, there's no date on it. With the condition that the lumens do not exceed 90 lumens per square foot.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. All right, all set, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. Joanne, did you get a copy of this?
Yeah, I
Did, okay. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a new hearing for 8 Kimball Court as advertised. If you could please introduce yourselves and give us an overview of the proposal.
Spain over this side too, because you want them to go see it too. Good evening, Chair, members of the board. I'm Jay Kahn from the Science Center. We also have Sean Lanahan, who is representing the new property owner. This is a brand change. Kathy Brown, who has pulled together the details of the application for us. Our request is to revisit a variance that you already have on this building. There have been two. It's a fairly complicated property because there are two complexes on the property, and it's on the literal line. This building, or these two buildings, are in Burlington. The rest of the property is in Woburn. So it makes it complicated as we talk about other signs on the property that we're working on for the brand change. So DFS brand Halsted has acquired this property, and they are looking to rebrand on a roof sign that you approved in 2019. That relief was granted for basically 144 square feet with 36 and 14-inch internally illuminated characters. So it is this sign, and that is exactly as you had approved it. The property was sold, and it was sold to a real estate developer that's based in Boston and Washington, DFS, and the brand being Halsted. I'm sorry, this is also for you. This is the RO zone, which basically is zero signs. So single family, clearly not single family, the entire property. Entire property is multifamily. And so I think the building inspector has looked at it through other parts of code to give rationale to what you eventually approved between 13.1, 2, 3, and 4. And so he's using a combination, and also in the high rise, which allows for 6-foot characters and 10 feet overall of height. So what we have done is basically replace it almost in kind, but as you heard in the last application, geometry changes square footage, and it also has a border with that I'll talk about and give you the square footage related to the border. So this icon for the brand is 72 inches. The other one is 2 rows of 36-inch characters, which is making up 80 inches lineal. So it is actually smaller than the other. And then we're using 30-inch characters for the brand versus 36. All the square footage, and I'll give you the numbers, is driven by that outside border to trap it in. The visibility of this sign is targeted for 128.95. You can barely see it on the property when the foliage is down this time of year. As you enter in, you can see it as you look up. It is a 10-story building, and this is on the parapet. Well, actually, it's a building. There is a mechanical building on top of it that it's on that wall. The frame is really what drives all of that square footage. It is on the next one. So you can see where the icon is and the 30-inch characters. But because of, you got 12 feet 6 inches overall height by adding that border, and then 232. And that's what gets us up to the 200 and whatever square feet it is. Well, it's
88.7.
So enormous, right? So it's enormous. We recognize that, but it's driven by the geometry. Visibility is $495 to build this brand. We think it's consistent with the overall intent of the zoning guidelines with characters that are allowed at 6 inches. We're doing, 6 feet and 10 feet for high rise. We went with slightly smaller than, can I have the, no, the other one. So again, this overall is 80 inches for Kimball Towers. This is 72. The letters are 36, and we went with 30. So all of it is that border that's trapping it in primarily. It does substantial justice for DFS Halsted, for them to get noticed and build their investment for their brand. They are a multi-unit real estate developer. Lumens is essentially a non-issue. White is 100 lumens per square foot. We are using blue and red, which is 18 and 30 respectively for lumens per foot. All LED is dimmable as well. We can put a light meter on, but it becomes a non-relevant area. We don't think it injures others or is outside of the intent of the zoning ordinance. The nighttime view is pretty much that. Obviously realize that's photoshopped, so there is no real nighttime view, but that's the objective. In the existing variance, there was no morning time hours. It was dusk to 9 p.m. And I don't know how you got there in that part of the decision. So for this time of year, you would want morning hours till dawn, and then again to be shut off on a time clock in the current variance. So we appreciate your hearing our request and look forward to your questions and hopeful support of our application.
Thank you. John, we'll start with you.
Well, my first question is, can we get rid of the border?
It certainly would change it. It traps it in, it makes it more of a unit that is visible from 95-128, but clearly mechanically, physically, absolutely.
Because, doubling the square footage of the sign is, I can't imagine, see how that's gonna go.
But that's why I'm saying it's geometry.
I
so-
understand that, but it's still double square foot of the sign, and it's much more illuminated than the previous sign.
I'm not sure you mean by total lumens, it would not be.
Might not be, but the last sign doesn't have a big orange stripe around the border,
Correct, that is correct.
and so it's gonna have a bigger impact.
So, correct,
So we're gonna see what we can do to try to minimize that some anyways.
sure.
Other than that,
Mark?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. It seems like a simple solution. Just take away the border. In other words, in order to keep it in line with what was there previously, I get what you're saying about the lumens and about, in other words, the impact of the lighting. We're gonna hear about that, I'm sure, from some of the residents. As far as the conditions that were put on the last permit, it was from sunset to 9 p.m. And I know there were concerns from some of the residents about when that sign would be lit, even if you're talking about a low intensity of light. So those are my comments. I'm going to reserve and wait for the rest of the board
Thank you.
to.
Charles?
No, I tend to agree with the other two board members with the border. I always think these signs can be smaller, just in general. But I'll, again, reserve any other comments until.
Can I make one comment to that one too? Because I have the distance. So where you see it, it's 1,500 lineal feet from 95-128. So recognize how far we are.
You can barely see it. I could not see Kimball Towers this evening as I drove down 128.
So
Could not see it at all.
I guess my question is, if you can barely see it, why do you need it so big then? If it's not gonna help, then why does it need to be so big?
Everyone pretty much answered every question I was going to have, as far as if you can't see it, why even have the sign up there and light it, but that's to each their own. I'm going to reserve and wait for the public to speak.
Jeremy?
Yep, and everything I was going to ask has been asked. I'm going to wait and reserve for the public to speak.
Okay, I agree. I think the border is a solution. Maybe if we weren't to eliminate the border, have it non-illuminated. If, you still see it during the day, maybe that's an option as well. I think eliminating the border is simpler, but before I open this up to the public, we received a handful of letters from residents. I'm going to read a couple of these. Some, I'll mention everyone that sent in a letter. A lot of them had almost identical content, so I'm not going to read every single one. But so just bear with me while I read through these for a minute. I'm writing a response to the Sign Center's request for a variance for proposed new signage for Halsted. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Hold on a second. I'm writing to oppose the Sign Center's request for a variance for proposed new signage for Halsted 8 Kimball Court. By way of background, it was less than 3 years ago that the sign company for the prior owner, Kimball Court, appeared before this board seeking a variance to erect a sign on top of 9 Kimball Court. I spoke at that meeting in opposition of the Kimball Tower sign. I noted, among other things, that the property is in a residential community and abuts conservation wetlands. This is certainly not a location where one should be allowed to erect large, well-lit commercial signage and would diminish the property values of its neighbors. After taking into account my and many of my neighbors' objections, as well as Kimball Tower's business needs, the board reached a compromise and approved a sign 99.46 inches in height by 202.97 inches in length under very specific conditions. The lighting was not to exceed 90 lumens per square foot, and it would only be illuminated from sunset to 9 p.m. Halsted, which I understand now owns Kimball Tower, is seeking to replace the current sign with a sign twice as large according to the documents filed. The existing sign is 100 inches by 210 inches, 146 square feet, and the new sign would be 154 inches by 270 inches, 288.7 square feet. The sign would be framed in yellow lighting. No reference is made to the lumens and the hours the sign would be illuminated. While a change in ownership is a reason to erect a new sign, it is not a reason to change the conditions that this board placed less than 3 years ago. Accordingly, I would urge this board to not allow any further variance. Respectfully submitted, Barbara Wexler, 5 Arborwood Drive, Burlington, Mass. Similar, same comments from, submitted from Susan Weiner, 23 Greystone Court, Burlington, Mass. Similar comments sent from Kelly O'Callahan, 3 Arborwood Drive, Burlington, Mass. Similar, same comments from Eileen Aloso, 9 Arborwood Drive, Burlington, Mass. Another email sent in. As I am unable to attend the upcoming meeting, Michael, I would like to report that I am not in favor of the proposed sign at 8 Kimball Court that is intended to read Halsted. I feel it is too large and too bright. Submitted by Jim Goldie, 25 Knollwood Court, Burlington, Mass. Another letter with similar comments to previously read, with the addition of a paragraph, light in general at night contributes to light pollution, but blue-rich bulbs greater than 300 degrees Kelvin color temperature and LEDs in particular disrupt human and animal circadian rhythms. Submitted by Larry Forsman, 43 Arborwood Drive, Burlington, Mass. And one last letter. I am opposing the sign size change for Kimball Court Halsted. As an abutter, I feel it will devalue my property. This company has proven to me it is not a good neighbor. I spoke to their office last December regarding a tree on their property that hangs over my property at 13 Bartlett Drive, Woburn. The Woburn Conservation Commission told me to call them as it was on their property. My property is half in Woburn, half in Burlington. I explained there were small children living there, and the tenant was concerned about bending branches that kept falling to the driveway and yard. They assured me at Kimball Court they would remove the tree. A year later, they have not followed up despite several conversations and repeated calls. Therefore, there can be no trust in what they say and promise abutters. Obviously, they only care about what they want and continue not to be good neighbors to residents. This is a safety issue and they still don't care. I hope the Board of Appeals will consider this when they come before you for this way too big sign. They don't take care of their property and disregard neighbors. They need to step up and be considerate of their neighbors. Respectfully submitted, Phyllis and Charles Lamarca, 20 Paulson Drive, Burlington, Mass. 13 Bartlett Drive, Woburn, Mass. Okay, those were the letters from the abutters. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the public that would like to speak on this matter, please come up to the microphone one at a time. Everyone will get a chance to speak.
Yes, my name is Vince Grillo. I live at 13 Knollwood Court. I'm a relatively new resident to this town, but it's my understanding, as I've heard here through the letters and all that, there's very situation was kind of decided upon not too long ago. And at that time, I'm sure you all spent long and hard hours deciding what's fair for the petitioner and what's fair for the residents. You made your decision. That, as you all know, that plays towers over the surrounding neighborhood. We already hear the air conditioning units rumbling, especially when the trees are down. It is, the place, it is an obstruction to the residential community around it. It's almost absurd that they would come before you. It's almost an insult they would come before you 2 or 3 years later and ask you to double the size of this sign. I'm sure you all took into consideration all the requests from the neighbors, from the petitioner, made your due diligence, and made a fair and equitable arrangement for both the petitioner and the residents. To come before you again now to change it, to double it, I think, again, that's kind of an insult. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? Okay, let's leave the public hearing open for now. Any other comments from the board?
I think it's all been said pretty amongst all of us that we're looking for that border to go away, and the size of it will be diminished.
Do you, by any chance, know what the size would be without the border?
I do. I know it's just over 200 square feet. I'm just trying to find my notes. I want to be exact if you're going to do for the relief, and I can redo the map, but it's just over 200 square feet. So it's the geometry again of how the icons are, where Halsted is larger linearly with smaller characters. And I'll do the math quickly here, but it's just over 200 square feet without the border.
That's taking in a complete square.
That's taking in a rectangle. I can tell you that the Halsted letters are 56.6 square feet and the icon are 72. So combined, you're at 135 or so. I mean, if you're just using the characters, you're below where you were before.
Right. Well, that's, yeah, I mean, you could take into consider, you could consider the dead space, but without the border, it's just dead space. It's
Correct.
white space at
That's
that point.
correct.
In my opinion, someone might argue differently. So, sorry, the existing square footage?
146.
I thought. Right, 144?
144 is right.
What's wrong there?
146, 144.
I think that these variant three is 146.75, but it is 144.
Okay.
Can I make one?
Sure, just please come back up to the microphone, reintroduce yourself.
If you take away the border and the word Halsted there, is that longer than the existing? Is that longer than the existing sign? Would it be longer?
The answer is yes, but I don't know how you want to do you should be addressing that.
As this gentleman said, you look for things that are not as, at least the same size as the other one. So if that's longer, that's bigger. It's a bigger visual, conceptual sign. So I think the dimensions can't be any bigger, shouldn't be any bigger than what's there now. You said it yourself, you said it earlier to someone else. We want it the same or smaller. Thank you.
I guess there's no point in getting into the the lumens of the time until we get the size resolved.
What is the length of Halsted?
It's on the chart, I think it's 232.
232? Oh, I'm sorry. 50 triangles.
I have no problem with the length of the lettering, the Halsted.
Right, I agree. I think if we remove the border, the square footage, the way that I would interpret it is actually smaller, so I'm all right with it, without the border. We'll get in, you know, if we can come to an agreement on that, we'll get into timing and lumens.
Well, that still makes it a 200 square foot sign, you said, right, if, without the border?
With the outside rectangle.
Well, he was saying if you draw a rectangle around Halsted and then up, all the way to the top of that sign, up to the top of that logo, so the two squares, the dead space squares on the side, he's counting that. I don't know that you should necessarily count that.
Isn't that what we always do? Don't we always count that?
I mean,
That's how
I
it's-
think it could be interpreted differently.
That's how it's counted in the permit.
I mean, if you put the logo on right next to Halsted, like in red across vertically, you'd only be at 135 square feet. Yeah, so I think you could interpret it two different ways. It's not, there's no, I mean, this is my opinion, there's no light on either side of the logo, so I don't know that, it's just, you'd see the wall if you were to look at it, so I don't know that it's part of the sign, but that's my opinion. But either way, I'm comfortable with it if there's no border on it. I don't know if the rest of the board has comments, thoughts.
No, I mean,
Can I make one more comment?
Sure, just,
I'm sorry.
again, reintroduce yourself.
I'm sorry to take up your time. Someone had mentioned, and I just wanted clarification, the old sign wasn't illuminated?
It was.
Was illuminated, and so this will continue to be illuminated too?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think if the border's gone, I mean, it's less square footage. It's a nicer sign. And I'm all right with it. Is the applicant all right with moving the border? Is that an option?
With the same conditions as we had before.
Well, I think they wanted to discuss the timing, but we can discuss that.
Yeah.
I was just looking for insight. We weren't part of that application. We've done others in the community with that. So how did you get to that point of nighttime only?
I think it was determined at the time that there wasn't really a need for it to be illuminated in the morning from the applicant, you know, and I think I would tend to agree with that. I don't think, you know, the morning time people are necessarily looking for signage. I think we could, in my opinion, we would keep the conditions the same. But I'm open
Yeah,
to discussion.
I completely agree. I don't see any reason to change that.
I'd like to see what it would look like if we had to bring it down to 144, keep the sign the same size that it is, doing it the way we normally, or not normally, but doing it the way it generally gets decided.
So shrink it proportionally down to the length?
I would like to at least see it and see it before I go for something bigger.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to seeing something different.
You know, maybe looking at it like that, you might agree, that, okay, maybe you need a few more square feet or something like that, but I'd at least like to see it.
Would you be able to provide us with that?
For sure, it'd be a continuance, but I want to remind you that all the characters are smaller than they are today. So it's geometry that's driving the square footage.
I understand that.
Yeah, it's just something to look at. It's not necessarily, you know, but just to, you know, have a view of it on the wall and, you know, maybe I know we've all driven past it and tried to see it from, you know, the highway, but some kind of imagery to that extent would be helpful as well.
Okay.
Are there any other
I have another question, too. You were saying white is the brightest backlit color on there. Would the applicant be opposed to removing the white from the backlighting and just using blue, red, and orange?
There is no, can I have that? There is no white. I was referring to what lumens were, so you had some background. Lumens per
I'm
foot.
looking at the square there, so it's blue in that picture.
Correct. As I said, that is a photoshopped rendering, right? So we're taking the blue.
Okay,
And the
so
way you get
there
light
is
through
no
blue is
white.
perforated, right? So it is, that is the best photoshopped rendering of what will happen at night.
Okay.
But we're well below the lumens per square foot when you use red and blue.
All right, so I think you've heard all the comments from the board unless anyone has anything else right now. So if you could get us those couple of pieces of information, we'll take a look at that. We'll continue to the next hearing and we'll make a decision.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to continue, please?
Make a motion to continue 8 Kimball Court to December 21st at 7:30.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Okay. The next item on our agenda is a new hearing for 9 Ward Street. Mark, can you read that into the record for us, please?
Yes, sir. This is a petition of Randy Brogan for property located at 9 Ward Street, Burlington, Mass. 01803, as shown on Burlington Assessors Records. Burlington Assessors Records map, record reference 36-14-0. The applicant is seeking...
Excuse me. I'm sorry. If you're gonna have a conversation, if you could just move out to the hallway, please. No problem. Go ahead.
The applicant is seeking a variance to construct a standalone shed to be 16 feet by 24 feet. The variance is to reduce minimum 15 side property setback to 8 feet at the left side of the house. Burlington zoning bylaws, Article 5, Section 5.2.0 requires a minimum of 15 feet side setback.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Please introduce yourself and give us an overview of your application.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members. My name is Randy Brogan. I'm the property owner at 9 Ward Street. I'm looking to get a dimensional variance on the left-hand side of my property to place a shed that's 16 by 24 to house woodworking equipment. I do it as a hobby and for home projects. I also do it, I'm a veteran, and I use it for de-stressing and stuff like that. So I have stuff in my basement right now, and I don't have room to move anything around. If you take a piece of plywood or lumber, you have no room, and I'm looking to try to be able to actually have enough room to do that and have my wife not yell at me for having stuff in the basement.
Is that a business, do you mind?
No, it's residential.
It's just,
It's strictly residential stuff.
Nothing for sale or anything?
No, nothing for sale.
All right, Jeremy, we'll start with you. Any questions, comments?
You know, to me, it does look like there's space to fit this in the yard without being in violation. Did you choose the position because it's lined up with the house?
No, the primary reason for this is that if you look at the actual property line, the space, I have a picture here of the property, I can share it with you guys.
Pass them around, please.
Sure, you bet. I took this from my drone so that you can see the property line. There's a space on the left-hand side, you'll see it is a brown area. That's where my children's place that was.
Thank you.
It's basically, the dimension of the shed is smaller than that brown area. And to the back of that brown area, the property line drops off. And also on the right-hand side, the property line drops off, and it's almost like a V. It drops off at a slope toward the back of the property and toward lot 20 on the right-hand side. I also have Lot 21, the owner of that property is here with me tonight in support of this petition as well, Ms. Evelyn Bowser.
Jeremy, anything else right now?
No other questions, thank you.
Jeff?
a little bit of confusion on the way the thing is. Is it 8 feet or 8 inches? 'Cause it
8
says-
feet, I'm sorry, yeah.
It says
I
8
noticed that
inches in
too.
the
Yeah,
advertisement.
it's 8 feet. Yeah, I sent in a note to try to get that corrected. It was a typographical error. It should be 8 feet. That is actually where the property line, if you look at the plot plan, that's actually where the property, or the actual house, the physical dimensions of the house is right now off the property line.
The house is 8 feet off the property?
Yes, sir. It was that way when I bought it, and it's been that way for at least since '73, something like that.
Else, Jeff?
I have nothing else at the moment.
Charles?
The only question I have at the moment is, do we have a better plot plan with the date on it and everything? This is all I could print off the website today.
Yeah, that's what I got too. Joellen, do you have an original?
Do you have a better plot plan?
I just had this one that was, I printed it out from the site that the building inspector gave me.
So that was an existing plot plan?
That was the existing one. They asked me to just, they marked it up, and they said, mark it up and send it back to you guys, so you can use it for review.
Okay.
I don't have any other questions at the moment.
All right. Mark?
So I'm looking at your plan here.
Yes, sir.
And that's where you're proposing to put the shed, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and I'm looking at the photo, and I'm trying to compare that.
There's a dark area there to the left.
So that dark area represents what?
That's where my kid's playset used to be. It has that recycled tire, rubber stuff.
Oh, all right.
So that's why it's darker there. That space is actually 20 by 30. So the shed is actually smaller than the dark area that you see there.
So the reason why you're putting it there is because you think.
That's the flattest area, number one. That's
Flattest
the
area,
primary
yeah.
reason. And to try to landscape and get enough fill in the other areas would be cost prohibitive. But also if I actually followed within the setback, I could, there's enough flat area that I can move it out, but then it blocks the back deck area. So it's sitting right in front of the back deck area.
Yeah, that would be my only suggestion, but I'll wait to hear from the other.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, no, not right now. Oh, wait.
My initial thought was, why couldn't you move it over 7 feet and have it be compliant? Could you, from this photo, it's hard to see, and, I drove past, it's, trying to look at it through the yards and everything.
Right.
Can you maybe describe a little bit how that's blocking your back shed? Because according to this, not your back shed, your back deck, according to the plan, you're 16 feet off the deck, so you could explain that a little bit more.
Absolutely. If you look at that dark square and you take pretty much half of that distance and you increase the area out into the yard, half that distance, that's the starting point where the back of the shed would be. So take half of that dark area, that's where the back of the shed goes, and then increase the area by half. That's where the front part of the shed would go, and it would block. If you look at the bright area on the other side of the solar panels, that's the back deck.
That's the roof of the deck?
That's the roof of the deck. And so if you see how it would come out, it almost blocks the entire frontage of the deck.
So sitting on your deck, you'll be staring at your whole shed?
At the side of the shed, exactly.
As opposed to the trees?
Yes, sir.
Is that your pool way over there?
No, so that's not a pool. It's the neighbor's stuff over there. They have a fire pit and stuff like that, yeah.
Looking at the picture and looking at the plot plan, is that your shed in the top right corner?
That is, yeah. It's up on blocks. It's a temporary building.
So that'll be coming down?
Yeah, I can take that down if that's necessary. What I do, I have my snow plow in there.
Okay, let's open this up to the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor or against this proposal?
I'd like to see a sketch of the drawing. The sketch, the layout.
Oh, it's just,
I didn't receive this in this way.
okay. Let me see if I have one here.
Sorry, if you could come up and introduce yourself, so.
There you go.
Salvatore Procopio, 8 Reed Ave.
I didn't hear your name, sir.
What's that?
I didn't hear your name.
Salvatore Procopio. So I'd like to see the sketch.
I don't have the sketch with me.
Really?
Yeah, it's just literally a
where's
rectangle.
the- let me see the
This is the
picture.
plot plan, and this is the picture, and this is where I'm talking about. Your place is here. This is up by Dorothy's or Evelyn's.
So you're going here?
Yes.
And how much space is between here and my line?
There's, well, I could probably guesstimate. There's probably 45 feet or so, maybe 50 feet.
Okay, all right. So he's gonna have, his shed is gonna be 45 feet away from my property line. Okay, I'm okay with that.
Actually, the way he's got it proposed, you're lot 20 on this plan?
Yes, sir.
That's him, yeah, he's 76 feet the way he's got it proposed right now.
And further.
Oh, really? Okay. So it's closer to Barney's house?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
That's as proposed right now.
Thanks, Sal.
You are.
Yeah, if you please come up to the microphone and introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Bowser, and I live at 10 Reed Avenue. And I'm the chief abutter to Randy's property. I've known Randy and Carolyn Brogan for going on 21 years. They've been neighbors of mine, and no one could ask for better or more considerate people to live next door to. Everything that they've done is first class. And I have no objection to this whatsoever. Randy went through the whole thing with me, and it's fine. So,
That's your backyard?
yes, it is. I have a fenced-in yard, and there's plenty of room, and it doesn't really obstruct
But it is a chain link fence,
anything.
right?
Yes.
So we still got to think about the density issue of it, though, still. You know.
Well, 8 feet is a tremendous amount. I have a corner lot, and this doesn't pose any imposition to me. I have no reservations about this whatsoever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thoughts from the board?
I don't have any objection.
I guess I don't really either. I mean, none of the neighbors seem to be opposed to it. And looking at the layout of the land, seems like if you got to put one that's in the right spot. I do get not wanting to put it farther out into the middle of his backyard and block off his view from sitting on his deck.
Yeah, and it does slope on the other side.
There is a grade there. You can see the grade anyway. I guess I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, the abutters on both sides seem to be prefer it where it is, so, the slope is an issue, I guess, so.
But do we know how much the exact, I know we had this problem before, does that make a difference?
Well, he's showing it here as 8 feet.
Oh, he is showing it, is he?
That's on the grade.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, there does appear to be a natural buffer zone between them as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I guess. Oh, it does say 8 feet, I'm sorry, yeah, right here.
All right, well, let's close the public hearing first.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. All right, take a motion if, unless there's other comments.
Make a motion to approve a, 9 Ward Street, for a side setback variance of 8 feet as shown on plan submitted with the application.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Sorry, Jeff, you're voting on this one. Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Yes, ma'am, I dropped them off.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Sure, I can take them back.
Joellen, did you get one of these for the record?
Thanks, Joe.
Yep. All right. Thank you. The next and final item on our agenda is a review of our minutes from November 16th. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to accept the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Any other business?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.